His friends from the fire brigades didn't have the opportunity to see it before, but they noticed the look on Zakarov's face, and one of them asked, "Tolik, what is it?" "These are the guts of the reactor," Anatoly said. "If we survive until the morning, we will live forever." Hey guys, today we continue the Firefighters mini-series. It's just the second episode, so don't worry if you don't remember the first one. It would be good for you to watch it later, but to quickly remind you what we talked about last time. We introduced you to the three important figures in the story. 3 firefighters, you guessed right. 1 lieutenant, 1 experienced, and 1 fairly new to the job. They were all part of the third watch in the paramilitary fire station number 2, and the first ones to arrive at the scene of the disaster, only a few minutes after it happened. I described the first moments when the alarm sounded at the fire station closest to the Chernobyl power plant, and I explained what important decision the lieutenant had made when he arrived there. This time, we will tell you more about those firefighters and introduce new ones. This will be important for not only their story but also for others, both the operators and the political arm of the Soviet Union in Pripyat. So, let's start. Chernobyl Firefighters Part 2. We will live forever. When Pravik got out of the truck, he immediately called the alarm number 3. Just seconds later, an officer from the power plant got out of the building and was running towards the lieutenant. It was the fire prevention officer who first called in the alarm, the one that lit the whole wall of alarm light bulbs in all nearby fire stations. He also witnessed the explosion, aside from the worst nightmare for someone who knew how the RBMK reactors worked and what fuel was used. A moment later, Anatoly Zakharov, an experienced 33-year-old firefighter, jumped out of his truck. He looked around. There was debris scattered all over the place. On the ground, inside the building, on the roofs. He couldn't understand what happened that this side of Unit 4 was almost completely destroyed. The ground was full of concrete, shattered glass, pieces of windows frames and other structures. There were also some oddly shaped pieces of dark material. He thought that they had to be parts of the building where the explosion happened, as they were still red because of intense heat. He could feel the temperature this weird debris emitted. Then it hit him. Zakharov witnessed the reactor being built. As a firefighter, he had access to the power plant during construction, and he had some friends among the workers. He recalled seeing the same material when the RBMK was being assembled. It was graphite, and it was put inside the reactor. His friends from the fire brigades didn't have that opportunity to see it before, but they noticed the look on his face, and one of them asked, "Tolik, what is it?" "These are the guts of the reactor," Anatoly said. "If we survive until the morning, we will live forever." The lieutenant of the station number 2 approached Zakharov. Pravik told Anatoly to stay by the radio and listen if any new information or any new orders would come in. They didn't have any instructions, and the alarm call from the power plant spoke only that they were needed on the site. Squad commander Leonid Shavrey joined Pravik. Before he left these two, Zakharov heard that both the lieutenant and the squad commander would go inside the partially destroyed building to gather more information and to look for potential victims. As their subordinates fought off fires outside the buildings, the reconnaissance team also had to find the source of the fire. They didn't know what could it be, but Pravik was convinced that they would find it. "And then we will put it out," he said. He geared up, called Shavrey and moved towards the broken power plant structure. In a matter of seconds, they vanished in the thick smoke coming out of the Unit 4 building. What they saw was unimaginable. They never expected to see that kind of scene. Everyone they met inside the turbine hall of Unit 4 was running around in some kind of frenzy. It was total chaos. Pieces of concrete were lying on the ground. Steel reinforcements were still sticking out of it. Different kinds of rubble were partially blocking the hallway and many doors. Pieces of strangely twisted metal were everywhere, the same as broken glass and wiring. In the turbine hall, there was one huge pile of debris. The smoke rose exactly from it. The walls of the building were visually damaged. Above their heads, some weird kind of noise came to them. Probably it was a sound of steam escaping from the damaged piping. Other pipes were not in a better condition. A whole set of them was not working properly, some of which were fractured so much that strong jets of steam and hot water blasted out. There were remains of glass and light bulbs everywhere, which made them understand that short bursts of light appeared because of the flames rather than miraculously saved power plant equipment. Some of the flames were so intense that they were visible through a thick layer of steam and smoke, and they appeared in the area where the fuel pumps should stand. Pravik and Shavray heard a loud cracking noise and almost simultaneously looked up. Some of the roofs collapsed, others had heavy pieces of debris stuck in them. It looked like a huge force thrown it at enormously high speed towards the roof, so they almost pierced it. Despite some roofs being fairly okay, both firefighters felt like they could cave in at any moment. They saw a lead plug fall off the ceiling and smash into the ground where one of the operators stood just a second ago. The plug was used to close a reactor channel. They knew that, so they understood that nothing could be done right now. They didn't even have the right equipment to measure the radiation level, and both Pravik and Shavray were convinced that it could be high. Very high. They were not ready to meet the nuclear fission byproducts. They were mere firefighters, not well equipped to fight off the radiation. Their walkie-talkies stopped working, and even finding a telephone didn't help. They tried to call the dispatcher of the power plant, but they couldn't get through. The lines were either cut, offline, or busy. They couldn't establish any facts. They weren't certain what exactly caused the fires and what could explode with such a force. They spent the next 15 minutes running around the inside of the power plant, wishing they could find anyone or anything helpful enough to at least identify the fire source. If they did that, they could establish a strategy on how to fight it. They finally got out and returned to their men just beside Unit 3. Walking towards them, they noticed with a bit of relief that the Pripyat City Brigade had arrived. Within the next 15 minutes, another 17 fire brigades were already rushing towards Chernobyl. Units from all over the Kiev region were called in. In this kind of situation, the firefighters alone were not enough. Alarm number 3 was a call to action for every single specialist who could be helpful on the site. That's why with a flood of firefighters, there came also search and rescue teams, tanker trucks, and special radar crews. Pravik was happy to see that they mobilized so quickly. By then he was sure that this site would not be an easy job. All men were needed now. Every firefighter in the 100-kilometer radius was notified. He looked at Shavray, who was leaning on the truck in a strange position. Pravik could have sworn that his squad commander was about to vomit, but he knew too well that Shavray was too experienced and he saw too many fires to be moved so much by this one. Pravik couldn't know it yet, as the adrenaline still rushed through his veins, but his comrade was already showing signs of radiation poisoning. Soon, he would become sick too. But he remembered Zakharov's words. If we survive until the morning, we will live forever. Thanks for watching, guys. This time it was a bit more action-driven. I think that was the first such detailed description of the post-explosion look of Unit 4. So far we've told many things about it, but never in a similar manner. I think that adds a good background to the horror the people on site had seen. The firefighters, besides the liquidators, are one of the most wronged groups related to Chernobyl disaster. Not only didn't they know what are they fighting, but they weren't given any chances of survival. No special gear, no special equipment, no specific instructions or information. For hours they fought fires which they were taught to do, yet the fires themselves were not the most dangerous. The worst was burning inside the reactor core, which the poor firefighters couldn't even dream to put off. And that's the sad side of their bravery. they didn't stand a chance. I hope you learned something new today. As always, I encourage you to share our videos and share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you'd like to listen about some specific subjects. Hit a like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to watch other videos. Check out our game Chernobylite, and remember that we see each other every Sunday at 19:30 CEST, so 10:30 PST. That's it for today, guys. Take care, stay safe, and see you next week.